What's up?
You are here to record the Onslaught episode of Back Issues.
Yeah?
Are you aware you've already recorded this episode twice before?
You sure?
The first episode was flawless in execution. However, due to a systemic anomaly in the file, the entire thing was lost. The second attempt was made vis-a-vis the comic book men Mike and Ming.
Yeah.
Concordantly, this will be the third time you've recorded the Onslaught episode of Back Issues, and you have become exceedingly efficient at it.
Well, I should hope so. Okay, alright, the problem is choice. What do you want me to do?
This is the 400th episode of Back Issues, so I just want to make sure you were aware that this is the third time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that it's the third time, but it seems like a lot of commotion just to kind of remind me that I've done this episode twice before, but...
Yes, well, if I am the father of Back Issues, then you would be its mother.
What? No!
Yeah, you are like the Oracle or something. I am the father of Back Issues, though.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap.
Concordantly, vis-a-vis perhaps some part of you printed its intentions onto me, or something.
That's it. We're good. We're good. We're all set. I'm gonna go get ready. You take this down.
You're going to destroy Zion anyway, or something. Or I'll destroy Back Issues. I could do that. I created it. I could destroy it. With tentacle robots. What does this even do? I'm supposed to control TVs, but I don't have any. Just white around me. What is all this? No, you're destroying the Matrix. It's a glitch. That's all it is. Watch your lights.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Back Issues. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Ben. And I'm Tiffany.
And if that playlist that this video is in is any indication, I think this is 400 episodes. It's really not. There's like two-parters and stuff in there, but like, who
We've
cares?
decided it is 400.
We've determined there are technically 400 videos you can watch in succession,
regardless of parts.
And I'm very, very privileged to have worked on nearly 400 episodes. Everybody on this couch, thank you all so much for indulging my insanity and sitting on a couch.
Firing us.
Yeah,
He's introducing a whole new cast.
It's over. So today, I thought for our 400th episode, we'd do a book we've already done twice. Onslaught is a massive, multi-part comic book event from 1996.
I want you to know I don't remember doing the episode, and I didn't watch the Mike and Ming one.
So it's like we never did it.
Yeah.
I had the audio too, and that's gone to the winds of time as well.
Oh,
So like,
really?
it's like we never did it.
Oh.
But I remember recording at least 2 other episodes where we talked about Onslaught. And what's funny is, I think we're getting better each time. Because this time, my approach to this was that I feel that Onslaught and the implications thereof are so prescient and relevant today that it's worth talking about. Of course, the story, such that it is, all 96 issues or whatever, is stupid and wholly irrelevant. Doesn't matter, and it's really simple. It's a stupid, simple story.
Yeah, but it has all these characters in it.
Yeah, except it like doesn't. You know, if you have like a play with 100 actors and only 2 of them have lines, then there's only really 2 characters in your play, isn't there? Anybody after that era probably has no context for this thing, and probably
because it never came up again.
It just never came up again. It has no real relevance at all, and
Which it really should, based on the premise.
Based on the premise and the girth of this omnibus. this
It ought to be real important.
because it was billed when it was being developed as the Dark Phoenix saga of Professor Charles Xavier, which is pretty damn impressive.
That is quite the claim.
Yeah, it's not a bad pitch, by the way, and that's what got a lot of the people who worked on this book excited, was this idea that we're going to do the fall from grace for Xavier. But I find that the story of Onslaught is way more interesting if you talk about everything around this book and why it even exists in the first place. And maybe if we talk about that while we also discuss the contents of this thing, we can get a clue about how things are going in today's comic book industry and why it's kind of interesting that of all eras, now is the time that Onslaught has returned to the X-Men in continuity in comic books.
Really?
Yep.
Onslaught has returned in a little story over there that has far-reaching implications to the larger narrative of X-Men, and I think there's like a metatextual / metaphysical reason for Onslaught to be back. The X-Men have been no strangers to events. Of course, in the 80s, the X-Men event was an editorially driven idea that forced uber creators like Louis Simonson and Chris Claremont to kind of bend over backwards to create an event every year. And most X-Men events were pretty substantive, but also trim when you compare them to the last two in this order. Most X-Men events that you look at, Mutant Massacre, Extinction Agenda, even Fatal Attractions to some degree, they're all pretty much the same length. There's no omnibus that collects Fatal Attractions to make it this big or long.
Yeah, this is like what, 12 issues?
It's sometimes, yeah, depending. Should be like
Give or
12 to
take.
20.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a lot.
Right.
It's a lot when you compare it to being an event, especially from the late 80s into the early 90s, but it ain't like this. And this did not come from nothing. So, 1992, everybody's making money. And
Yeah, this great train's not going to end.
That's right, and it's not going to end until literally the following year in 1993, when the bubble bursts. If you look at the sales, everyone's doing pretty well. 93, the bubble bursts, and then Marvel still 51%, Image high 20s, DC is somewhere below that.
Whatever's left.
And then the rest,
Yeah.
which includes DC, which is sad, and like there's no good reason for it outside of the fact that like, you know, the cachet of Image and all the books and creators that were coming out of that, and Marvel just happening to own that much stuff. Marvel,
Yeah, look at all the different titles we have and all the characters.
Yes, and of course, from the late 80s into the early 90s, during the rise of the speculator market, there are two books that are selling at Marvel. They represent 51% of the market share, but there's only two books that sell. Spider-Man and X-Men. Those are the two characters that are holding up the entirety of Marvel Comics. Now in 95, X-Men starts to produce another little event that starts to shift from what we know the X-Men events to look like to what X-Men events will start to look like, and that's Age of Apocalypse.
Hey!
The Age of Apocalypse was
God damn.
created as a marketing ploy / effort to get sales, but also there's a story here, and it's well regarded. You know, you compare Age of Apocalypse to Onslaught, and it's apples and oranges. People lovingly remember Age of Apocalypse, even people who didn't read comics ever in their lives. And nobody likes or remembers Onslaught. And there's a very good reason for that, and it's just where it comes from. Onslaught came from an idea from a guy named Scott Lobdell, who essentially was asked, along with the Marvel bullpen, or the X-Men bullpen, I should say, at the time, what do you got? No bad ideas. And so Scott Lobdell goes, okay, here's the idea, okay? The X-Men are in the X-Mansion. They're sitting comfortably. They hear a loud noise. They go outside. Juggernaut, the most powerful villain of the X-Men, is laid to waste on the front lawn of the X-Mansion.
Oh.
He only has one word on his lips: Onslaught. Boom. And they're like, who is that? And he's like, I don't know.
Well, that's not for you to decide.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
That's not an idea.
And they're like, that's gold.
What?
Gold! Nailed it. So
It's like writing a pitch where it's, all right, cut to the line at the comic book store where people are paying dollar upon dollar for their X-Men book.
Yes.
Boom! What do you think?
oh, I'm sold. I love that idea.
What's it going to be about? I'll show you.
I'll show you. And then all I need to do is just slip out of town with a suitcase full of money before the book comes out. So that's where Onslaught originally comes from. Now, okay, so Marvel...
The Juggernaut?
Yeah, because the Juggernaut's so unbeatable.
He's so unstoppable.
And he does have ties to Xavier. So
Yes, but
Well,
but
that makes me
Lodell doesn't
wonder.
know
That makes me wonder if that was, if he
Right?
did have an
Like, it's
idea,
something.
or
No,
that
he did
is
not.
what caused it to be Xavier, because they established at first that
Right?
Onslaught would be, or that Juggernaut would be the
I
first
feel like
victim.
there's the slightest seed in there.
I promise you, Scott Lobdell did not know that Xavier was Onslaught at the time. Onslaught was reverse engineered. This story was reverse engineered by marketing.
Is this the
to try
Sonic
and-
the Hedgehog of X-Men?
Yes, he is.
Is that why he looks like Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2?
He looks like Magneto on steroids. He looks too.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know if it's nostalgia or what, but I think Onslaught looks freaking dope. He does just look like Magneto.
Yeah.
He's
But
Magneto
like
with more
like he
stuff
drank the
on him.
ooze.
Yeah.
Yes. Marvel at the time is owned by a guy named Ron Perelman. And Ron Perelman is no
Not Ron
stranger.
Perlman.
Not Ron Perlman, the actor, but Ron Perelman. And Ron Perelman was no stranger to grossly overinflated acquisitions. And Perelman, of course, was running Marvel at the time, and the market had just bottomed out, 93. So he's looking to recoup losses and also gain market share and line his pockets with money. Around 94, Marvel starts buying shit for no good reason, seemingly, right? Marvel's just buying up all kinds of... They buy Malibu Comics because they like how they do the coloring. Malibu had the Ultra Force, Prime, and Ghoul, and
Yeah, I don't know.
Prototype.
I don't know any of that.
Doesn't matter. Well, the thing is, Marvel owns them and could use them at any point, but won't. And some of those characters are owned by questionable human beings who would get residuals. And so there's a moral reason why Marvel doesn't necessarily use them. But the real reason is because
They want to keep all the money.
they don't want to have to pay royalties to any of the creators, regardless of their moral standing.
Yeah.
But Marvel bought Malibu, and they say, and I've seen like the interviews to prove it, that like they claim they liked the way they did to the digital coloring, and they didn't believe that it was a way that they were just like, we just use computers. And they're like, there's no way. So they bought the company and they check it out and they're like, oh, it is computers. Okay, all right, see you later. And then
All right, you're fine.
all right, well, I spent like millions of dollars to do that. Yeah,
find out.
let's liquidate it all and then show the characters into a trunk somewhere and never open it again.
I assumed we would be some dark art in the basement. We would gain like secret knowledge.
Yeah, no, and the knowledge is just Photoshop. Cool. Wizard's been using it for 4 years before that.
Yeah.
So the comic book industry has at least 3 different distribution houses. There's Heroes World, there's Diamond, and yeah,
Sounds very confusing.
yeah, just 3 different distributors, and they all just like distribute the comic books to the direct market, which at the time was hovering around 10,000 shops.
Was it like regional? Like there was one that was like
Yes,
East
there were
Coast?
East Coast, West
I
Coast,
see.
and almost like between 8 and 10,000 comic book shops. By 94, 4,500.
Ooh,
Wow.
Yeah.
wow.
And then Marvel buys Heroes World. They're going to be their own distributor.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Which is also a problem, and here's why. This was attributed to Peter David, who was a writer and also worked in the like distribution room before that. Distributors did not like to give Marvel information about like how many shops there were, what their ordering sizes were. Like they really wanted to keep their numbers to themselves because they were like, well, what if you ever decide to become your own distributor? And Peter David and Marvel was like, why would we ever do that? That is financially stupid, and we have no interest in ever getting into that market.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Marvel couldn't possibly support their own market. But in fact, Perelman buys Heroes World and proves the distributors right. Now, of course,
Makes a whole lot of sense. You distribute it yourself. You're not paying
Yeah,
someone.
you
for
cut
that
out the
kind of stuff.
middleman.
the problem with that is it has a number of facets to it, because the comic book industry needs these incentives that are built into the structure to make a comic book retail house viable. Now, of course, the bottom just came out a year prior, so half the shops or more have closed.
Yeah, so their orders ain't coming
There are
through.
fewer orders than ever, and you're only distributing one publisher as opposed to the main 3 or 4 or
Right.
5 or 6 or 10 at the time. Of course, after Marvel bought Heroes World, now that takes out one distributor. Now there's 2 distributors, and Marvel's distributor. And that whole thing falls apart because now Marvel isn't bolstering the orders for the smaller publishers or the lower selling books from the bigger publishers that were being distributed by those distributors. And so different labels are starting to fall apart because these distributors can't offer the financial incentives to go with them, because the more you order, the bigger the discount you get. But now without 51% of the market, your discounts are gone. Oh, also Marvel can't literally do it because they don't know the logistics, they don't understand the business, and they only represent one publisher, so they're not offering discounts. And so, you're going to be handling distribution for like DC, Image, and whoever from these two distributors, and only Marvel from this one. You're like, we can't give you any discounts, and we're going to start to create like cash on delivery for our books. So like if you're a shop that's struggling, if you want Marvel, you got to pay up now. No credit. Pay now. And if you don't have the cash to pay for it, no Marvel books. Let's see you work as a comic book store in 1994 or 5 with no Marvel market. So that closes more comic book shops.
Holy crap.
Like they force comic book shops out of business.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, why do they do that? It seems like it's a completely insane move, but then you think about Perelman and his plans for Marvel. This dude is not a comic book publisher. He's not a book publisher. This is a market acquisition guy. He's looking to bolster his money and his stock prices because, of course, Perelman wound up buying New World Media and New World Entertainment. You know those guys. They produced Deathstalker and the Punisher movie from 1989.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting in the weeds, but I promise you it has everything to do with Onslaught.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure you're not secretly Onslaught and this is some sort of like...
And then I'm luring you in, and then I'm
A
gonna,
marketing pitch?
yeah, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna suck out your mental energy and then use it to create the Omni-Mind, because that's Onslaught's plan in this book. Marvel is looking towards like Disney as a media company, as opposed to being a comic book publisher.
Right. We're gonna make everything.
Yes, and they go into licensing like you wouldn't believe.
Okay.
So they're getting Marvel out there. They're like, well, we're kind of like the edgier Disney. Like we have a gazillion characters like Disney does, but our characters are like for adults and for children. We could do it all. So after Marvel fucks up with Heroes World and can't distribute their books on time or properly, or they don't even have like a competent list of the retailers that still exist in the country.
Well, yeah, because they're reaching out and places have shut down.
And that's
It's
full
like
of
they send a letter ahead. Hey, just to let you know,
Yeah.
we're not going to be ordering any more books.
Right. No, they just close. So that falls apart. So now there's one comic book distributor, Diamond Distribution,
Oh.
and Diamond becomes the monopoly in
What
the comic book
happened to the
distribution
other?
house. It just closed. It couldn't sustain itself.
Couldn't handle the
It couldn't
disruption
handle
caused
distributing
by-
only
yeah.
Image and DC and cartoon books and whatever else is left. Dark Horse.
We stopped believing in them, and so they faded away.
No one clapped for them.
Oh.
Yeah. So whoops.
Now, what's funny about Heroes World even being acquired and everything suggests that there's an implication that Perelman had no interest in cornering the market or even distributing comic books, and it's why there was no real good care put into making Heroes World into a distributor. And that was that Perelman has a controlling interest in shares for Marvel, and it looks really good to say that Marvel now is like guiding its own destiny to inflate its own stock artificially.
Right.
That is true.
And also edge out the competition. So like even if you lose, let's say like $10-15 million in revenue from like destroying the comic book industry, you can make upwards of $100 to $200 million in stock options just by inflating your value in the entertainment market.
Right. Right. Like, oh, well, we're expanding in all these different directions.
Exactly.
The future's never been brighter.
That's right.
And you're
so
like
your
hollowing
investors are
out
like,
the actual like underpinnings
Yeah.
of what you are.
because of course, like your Marvel, you know you're not gonna go under. And I know people are already commenting, well, what about the bankruptcy? Well, the bankruptcy is another shrewd move by Perelman, because Perelman is dealing with infighting within the controlling interest of Marvel. So he files for Chapter 11 preemptively, so he can restructure and get rid of the people who are trying to oust him in the first place, which results in a multi-year legal battle that won't end until like 97, 98, after which point Perelman's out, the other guy's out, and suddenly Ike Perlmutter and Avi Arad from Toy Biz take controlling interest in Marvel Comics, which it sucks, but they manage to make the deals to get the MCU going. And produce books again that people want to see, like Marvel Knights and JMS's Spider-Man and the Ultimate Universe. While they live long enough to become the villains, maybe it's not quite as bad as when Perelman was in charge, but like we're just dealing, they're all monsters. Like, we're just dealing with
different
people,
types of
different
monsters.
types, just literal different types of monsters, you know? So anyway, why does this have to do with Onslaught?
I was literally like, and how are we going to?
Well, here's the thing.
Perelman is Onslaught. He's the monster.
I mean, what's funny is you could Grant Morrisonian that up, except that like no one working on Onslaught has any care or vested interest in making Onslaught good.
We already had a good one. We had Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, well, we're riding high on Age of Apocalypse. Age of Apocalypse was a sales juggernaut, forgive the term.
Right.
And, now we're going to pants juggernaut to make way for Onslaught. Like, we know that X-Men sells, and we know that Age of Apocalypse worked, so we could just do the same freaking thing. But, like, again, that would make sense, but that's not where Onslaught comes from. So Jerry Calabrese comes in to shepherd things. And by the way...
He's not a delicious fresh mozzarella.
No, he's not. That's Caprese.
Oh,
I'm
right.
talking about Calabrese.
Oh, okay.
But Calabrese comes in, and he's from marketing. And everybody internally at Marvel has been trying to fight against marketing because, like, Tom DeFalco was editor-in-chief at the time, and, like, he's trying to fight with marketing because they're trying to force him to let marketing design the covers for comic books to try and just pull themselves out of the...
Just anything.
Like, we know how to sell these things. Just let our team...
Just design the covers.
Yeah.
Like,
It'll be
please.
fine.
So Jerry wants to take things back to the way they were, like literally a year ago, when things were good and they all had money. And so he has this wild idea. He's like, let's go to Image and we'll ask the Image guys if anybody wants to take over our comic books because only Spider-Man and X-Men sell, the rest of them aren't. We still have 51% of the market share, and we are also at that time like our own distributor. We have to put out books. And so it's not like just, we'll just cancel every book that isn't Spider-Man or X-Men. They're like, we have to try and like sell these things, and they're selling like shit.
Yeah, canceling books is a sign of failure.
Yeah, it is. And also, you can't juggernaut the shelves with Marvel product if you only have like conceivably 6 titles, 8 titles. So they try to reinvigorate their books. Captain America, for example, was garbage. And then suddenly Mark Waid and Ron Garney come in. They double sales for Captain America.
Oh.
Because they're such a good team?
It's just a good book.
Okay.
And Mark Waid was new hotness at that time. And he's good. He's telling a good story. And he cares about Captain America because he desperately wants to write for Superman.
Right. Well.
It's a different Boy Scout.
Yeah. But he really wants to do Superman, but he's like, I got Captain America close enough. So they revolutionized Captain America, but it's too little too late because Calabrese goes to Image and he's like, who wants to do Marvel? And he offers multi-million-dollar contracts to any of the Image guys. Todd McFarlane, of course, who, all respect to Todd, I believe made the big stink in the offices of Marvel and DC to keep his collaborators from being able to go back to hallowed ground.
Right.
From if Image doesn't work out. He's like, get fucked. I don't want to do that. I got my own toys. Why would I sell toys for Toy Biz? Fuck them. Not wrong. He's a competitor. He's a direct competitor with Marvel because not only is he selling one of the top books of the market, but he's also a new toy company that's directly competing with Toy Biz, which is owned by Marvel.
And they are trying to put out higher-end toys. Like the
McFarlane is,
Yeah,
yes.
McFarlane.
Yeah.
The articulation, the detail on them.
Yeah, toys are just better.
How do they have multi-millions of dollars to offer them?
Well, they keep borrowing it.
From who?
From their shareholders because the stock is still doing okay because despite the fact that the market is tanked and everything's garbage, Perelman is spending money hand over fist. Oh no, Perelman spends $400 million.
He's investing.
Yeah.
He's investing in the future of
Yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah.
This is going to pay dividends.
And by the way, like I think
In
that most of these
massive
investments
sales.
are all
who
phony
does?
deals that are just made to artificially make Marvel look like it is a entertainment juggernaut because they're also like licensing to anybody. Look at this cool cartoon that just came out, or this other cartoon, or this video game series. Like there are people who were buying Toy Biz X-Men figures who had never heard of the X-Men before. The toys are selling better than the comic books.
Right. Look at how cool they are.
Exactly.
And they're
So-
going to be collectibles one day.
Yeah. But Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee,
Right.
they're like, this is too good to be true. They're offered,
This leads into Onslaught?
this leads into Onslaught. Yeah. They offer this deal. You can do anything you want. with any of these characters. You can take Fantastic Four, Iron Man, the Avengers, and Captain America, and everybody in between. And those are the 4 titles. And the multi-million-dollar deal, 12-issue maximum, 6-issue minimum. You can walk away after 6 issues. Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld will be stupid to say no. They don't. And Heroes Reborn, which at the time was titled Unfinished Business. Oh. Because, of course, they left Marvel, and then they got unfinished business. They're going to come back, kick the door in, and revolutionize. Now, Calabrese makes this deal for unfinished business, as we know it now, Heroes Reborn. And they're like, we got this big plan. By the way, at this time exactly, Wade and Garney are making Captain America double in sales. Captain America is no longer a shitty property. It's on its way up, but you're on your way out. You're fired. It's over.
Yeah, let's give it a Liefeld.
So they got this bigger plan.
Yeah, we got this
image
bigger
guys.
plan that we've spent millions of dollars to execute. So that's on the horizon. Oh, by the way, in between Heroes World and this, over 250 Marvel staffers are fired.
Oh.
How big was the company?
I mean, it was the biggest comic book publisher at the time during an unprecedentedly prosperous period. So...
What type of people were fired? Just
editors,
everything?
Editors, writers, staffers, yeah.
Okay.
Everyone, all the way from the top down.
Did they slash the number of titles they were producing or the amount of books they were putting out?
So they're like, all right, we got this big plan that's going to save our asses after all this unprecedented spending that we were just doing at the whim of our owner, who clearly was just doing it to line his own pockets from stock options, which he owned the controlling interest in. Well, how are we going to get to Heroes Reborn? How are we going to kill off or change all these books? Well, we got to create an event. Well, X-Men's our biggest thing, so let's invent an event. So they come up with this idea. We're going to do this massive event that's going to result in a massive Marvel Universe spanning story that will ultimately end up with the shunting of the characters that we basically are leasing to Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld. So what are we going to do? So fucking...
It's like a crisis.
It's
then.
a crisis.
We're trying to...
You're not far off, because in an interview with Wizard Magazine, they said it's not a crisis. In fact, editor-in-chief Bob Harris is like, "Oh no, it's not a crisis. Everything that you know and love about those characters will be preserved. We are not rebooting. We are not resetting. This is not a DC crisis. Everything that happened from Stan and Jack and everybody who worked on those characters will remain." Fucking lies. Total lies. Bold-faced lies. You want to read it? It's Wizard number 56. So remember when I said that Scott Lobdell was like, oh, hey, so I got this great pitch.
Yeah.
Juggernaut, he says Onslaught, and, money. So they're like, we're going to get rid of the Avengers. We're going to have this big multi-part event that's going to cover all our titles. We're going to use the X-Men to do it because they're the best sales juggernaut, and we know, thanks to Age of Apocalypse, that it does work. What are we going to do? Who has the ability to kill the Avengers? And Scott Lobdell goes, Onslaught does. And they're like, who the fuck's that? He's like, he's the guy who could punch Juggernaut so hard that he would be defeated. And they're like, oh yeah, that's right. Anyway, Onslaught.
Who is it?
Yeah, what is Onslaught? And they're like, okay. So they have this idea, Onslaught. And the idea for Onslaught was, it's Professor X. It's the Dark Phoenix Saga for Professor Xavier.
Right.
And we're going to do it using continuity. We're going to say that all the shit that Xavier's been through for the last several years has been building up, and he just cracks. And the psychic energy of Professor X is generated into a dope-ass new costume that can defeat the Juggernaut. And you know what I just remembered? He can walk, yeah. He's got the armor on. But I just remember the Juggernaut is the stepbrother of Professor Xavier, so there's a reason for him to punch Juggernaut now. Aha! I'm a genius. And so...
What, because it's just a sibling rivalry?
Yeah! Well, Juggernaut used to beat on Xavier, so now Xavier's going to beat on Juggernaut.
Oh. He just walks up to him and just like, hey, Juggernaut.
No.
This is for everything.
He pantses him.
I suddenly had a problem with it.
He has to become Onslaught, make Juggernaut not know who he is, and then kick his ass and then show him that he's Xavier, which is, of course, the big reveal of who Onslaught is. It's that Juggernaut is... his ass is kicked all the way to Jersey. A couple of X-Men clandestinely bump into him while they see Pulp Fiction in the theater. They recover him. They bring him to the Xavier Mansion. Jean Grey has already been tormented by Onslaught because Onslaught wants to scare/enlist powerful psychics and telepaths in his quest. Because of course it's Xavier. He's cracked. He wants. It all starts from his peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants. What's he going to do now? We'll figure that out in a minute. I don't know yet, but trust me, it's going to be awesome. So
it's like a mystery.
It's a mystery. Who is Onslaught?
Yeah, Onslaught.
Definitely
punched.
not like any of the crises.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Nothing like. Don't think of it as a crisis.
Oh yeah, certainly not.
Is
This
Xavier
ultimate
having a
bad guy.
crisis himself?
Yeah, is
he has his own
he in the book
Is
and
he
he's
in
just like being
crisis?
himself, but secretly he's also being Onslaught and punching
Yes.
like Juggernaut and stuff?
Yes.
Is he being
So it's
real
like
moody?
So like
Yes.
Jekyll and Hyde?
Yeah. Yeah.
Goes to the grocery store. They're out of his favorite whatever.
And that's the straw that breaks the
Yeah.
camel's back.
Onslaught!
Like, I'll be right
Well,
back.
as a
Walks
matter
out
of
of the
fact,
store,
there-
and then
Oh,
like
my
Onslaught
plain
just shows up
oatmeal!
and like,
No!
punches the store.
There is a
He comes
straw.
back in.
Whoa, what
happened?
happened? Oh no.
No.
Oh, here it is.
It's more that he is deliberately obscuring his identity from the X-Men. Like
So he's just a bad guy.
He's just
and
become
he's
a bad
pretending to
guy.
be a good guy.
Yes.
And
But
who
then
he's
better
talking to the
to,
X-Men.
obscure his identity than a telepath?
That's right. That's
He's
right.
just over there wringing his hands. Yeah.
Oh, there's literally a scene where he's looking at a file that he's kept because Xavier has kept files like Batman on everyone from the Xavier Institute.
Okay.
And the Marvel Universe about their weaknesses and their strengths
that's
so that
a
he can
little
defeat them.
creepy.
I
And
mean, X-Men makes sense.
sure, he's got a danger room.
He's got a team. He needs to improve his team.
Yeah.
Well, and there's the
all
whole
characters on it.
anti-mutant thing. He's like, maybe someday the
Someone will
government
use
will
this.
use the Avengers against me. I got to be able to fight the Avengers.
Right.
And does Marvel sell those files as separate issues that you can pick up so you too can know what Onslaught knows?
You mean the Xavier files? Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They sold a book about the ideas
That's
for
awesome.
Onslaught they didn't even get a chance to use.
Oh man.
There's a book called 101 Ways to End the Clone Saga, and it's written from the perspective of the editors at Marvel for Spider-Man.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Like every page is just like a different version of the last page of the Clone Saga.
No, it's more like it's a drawn version of the editors in the room
What?
talking about it. You don't actually get to see any fun Spider-Man stuff.
That's
it's
so
just them
weird.
talking.
It's a
Yeah.
comic book of people in a room talking
Yes.
about
about
writing
stuff you
comics.
should see in a comic book.
But at some point they get pizza.
It
Oh
doesn't
my God,
matter.
that's
it
so
sucks.
weird.
But Marvel is not beyond making those books.
Yeah, they're making
You should actually
random
leaf through it
shit.
and look at the covers as it gets closer to the end of Onslaught because that's when marketing starts getting involved with how to sell Onslaught.
Right.
But yeah, so Xavier, of course, as Onslaught goes to get Jean Grey, he knocks her ass out, pulls her into the psychic plane, shows her how everything sucks. Sabretooth's illegitimate son, Graydon Creed, is running for president, and he's doing a damn good job, and he's going to win.
Oh, is this the reveal?
Yeah, that's the reveal.
Oh, I found it.
And Graydon Creed is talking about a peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants, but behind the scenes he's like, yeah, we're gonna kill all the mutants and we're gonna round them all up. And Onslaught's like, look, and Jean's like, yeah, I'm a telepath. I know that's gonna happen. I just believe in the future, and I believe people will beat him. I believe that democracy will prevail.
It's the same shit we've been dealing with for 30 years.
He's like, okay, never mind. How about this?
God damn it, Gene!
You know who sucks? Professor Xavier. And she's like, no, he's great. He raised me since I was a kid. He brought me in as a little girl. And he's like, yeah, how about this? He wanted to fuck you. And she's like, what? And it's like, yeah, actually, in the Jack
What?
Kirby Stan Lee comic book, in the very in one of the first 2 issues, Professor X's thought balloon is about how he's in love with her and how he can never be with her because he raised her and stuff. Not really, but he helped cultivate her as a child. And she's like, oh, that's pretty fucked up. And it's like Professor X is falling on his sword to obscure the fact that he is Professor Xavier, despite the fact that he's literally going to reveal it in the next issue. I'm Onslaught. Join us.
Why in this weird mental plane do you have a boner?
Right? And he's like,
So how does Onslaught convince her that that's true? She would just say, well, you're just lying.
right. I guess because they're in the astral plane. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't lie in the
But
astral
she
plane.
can sense that he's lying?
It just does.
How do you know what Professor X thinks about
Right,
me?
well, because we don't want to waste pages trying to get him to convince her otherwise.
Right.
It just needs to be a moment that she sees
So-
and goes,
She's like, oh
So
no.
it'll
Yeah.
So
say
she's just a
something
rube who
that
just believes.
she wouldn't believe, but that the audience will believe because
Yes.
they remember it.
right, exactly. And so because we know it, she believes it.
Right.
Anyway, so it doesn't work out, and of course she rejects him, and then he's like, okay,
Right.
fuck it. So then he lures the so then he kicks the shit out of Juggernaut. Juggernaut, of course, is chased by Onslaught, or he has this bad feeling that Onslaught's after him. Juggernaut, of course, does not have his helmet on because he takes it off in deference to Jean to show that he trusts her, because he knows that she could use her abilities on him if he doesn't have his helmet on.
Right.
Anyway, so Xavier chases him through the mansion as Onslaught, and then, as Onslaught, he picks him up, and Juggernaut is not a mutant. He's a magically bestowed character. He's just a dude who found the crystal of Cyttorak, and it literally just went into his body, and
it's just in him.
It makes him the human Juggernaut. But there's a great moment where, because I guess it's like metaphysical or psychic, Onslaught can physically reach into Juggernaut's body and pull the crystal out. So he does, which reduces Kane Marco into his original self.
Just a dude.
Yeah, and
just a
then
guy.
reveals, like, you know how long I've been waiting for this moment? All my life. And that's when it's like, oh shit, it's Professor X. Then Professor X sends out a psychic call to the X-Men and goes like, yo, come here, I got something to tell you. And then they all get there and like, what's up? And like somebody eventually notices that like the crystal of Cyttorak is sitting on his desk, and he's like, we should kill like everybody. We should kill like all the humans and fuck them. And like the X-Men are like, what? Is this like a prank?
He didn't put the crystal in his own chest.
No, and become
Onslaught.
Slaughternaut? No, which
like,
I
no, I
think is an
don't need
oversight,
to.
because like if you can take the mind of Xavier out of his head, like Red Skull does later on, and put it on your own brain and become Red Onslaught, then you should totally be able to become the Onslaughternaut.
Some of these issues don't seem to have Onslaught in them at all.
That's hard to believe.
But I'm looking at
Well,
them.
because they technically are part of Onslaught.
Well, how could they technically be part of Onslaught? He's not even there. They're
Well,
just
it's happening
talking
at the same
about what
time.
Onslaught's doing?
Yes. Well, okay.
Look, if Onslaught is not in a panel, characters in those panels should be talking about him or wondering where he is.
That's exactly what it is.
God damn it!
Here's the reason why the Marvel Universe even gets involved. So, Onslaught, of course, he makes a sales pitch to the X-Men. They reject him. He reveals he's Professor X. They're like, shit. He then takes over a Sentinel-producing factory and just whips up a whole bunch of new Sentinels that have a special frequency or mechanism that allows them to channel psychic energy. And then he goes in front of everybody and he's like, I'm Onslaught, look at my dick. And they're also afraid that their fear and psychic energy is like amplified. And so the Sentinels that are surrounding New York, because Onslaught sets up shop, feed off of it or channel it into Onslaught and make him even more powerful.
So if the people of New York start chanting, we're not afraid of you, and they have a
could defeat
Ghostbusters 2
him.
moment.
Right, if they get the Statue of Liberty, maybe to inspire them.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that wouldn't
That
work.
would weaken him?
Yeah, maybe. Except that, you see, Onslaught has multiple contingencies for his plan, which sucks. His plan is that he is going to create basically like a unimind for everybody. Like he's gonna blend everyone's consciousnesses together.
Like a phalanx?
Like a phalanx, to make everyone kind of one hive mind.
So is that to unite everybody?
It's kind of like a bastardization of Xavier's dream, right? It's because it's unifying everybody.
Right.
But the reason why he doesn't do it originally is because to try that would be to kill the humans. The human minds are not as strong as mutant minds or whatever, and so it would kill everybody. But Onslaught's like, I'm more powerful. Plus, I'm
more powerful, so I can do it.
Yes,
I'm
that's
so
it.
powerful, I'll be able to stop people from dying.
Yeah, and becoming a big unit mind. And he's got the Sentinel augmentation. Plus, he needs the combined powers of new hotness character X-Man and Franklin Richards.
Ah.
So
I'm out.
Whoa.
X-Man is a super powerful character who's also a lot of fun. He was birthed in the Age of Apocalypse story arc. He is a byproduct of the combined genetics of Jean Grey and Scott Summers, because even in the Age of Apocalypse universe, Mr. Sinister wants to see the Summers and Greys get together and make babies.
I want to be happy for you.
Well,
Okay?
he thinks that
just belong together.
He thinks that a Summers and Grey child combining their DNA will create a being strong enough to defeat Apocalypse in the Age of Apocalypse. So he genetically engineers Nate Grey, aka X-Man, because technically Cable is the byproduct of the genetics
Yeah.
of Scott Summers and
Yeah, that already
Jean Grey.
happened.
But he was
Yeah, but
made.
he sucks.
I can't control him, and it's Age of Apocalypse, so he doesn't exist. So Nate is now like proto-Cable. You know, it's like Cable was the natural coupling of those people.
Right.
And of course, he has the techno-organic virus, which he needs to use the totality of his powers internally. It's why you never see Cable actually like do anything or cut loose,
Right.
because he's actually using the power inward to keep the virus at bay from taking
not
over.
die?
Yes,
Yeah.
to keep him from dying.
Yeah, but there was a cure for that virus.
That was the legacy virus.
Oh, the techno-organic virus is not?
No, that's right. Legacy virus is AIDS. Techno-organic is becoming a robot.
Yeah.
So, also one of the reasons why Xavier fell is because of his failure to keep the legacy virus at bay. You know, it's the adamantium of Wolverine, the legacy virus, his inability to rehabilitate Sabretooth, and his ravaging of Psylocke, and then also this mutant who like looks gross, wanted to join the X-Men, or at the very least get out of his podunk town where people are going to beat him to death, but he's like 2 minutes too late from getting there, and so he's beaten to death, and that's the straw that breaks the camel's back and makes him lose it.
He's like, no.
Now, the funny.
What about that time that he mind wiped Magneto?
Now that's really important because like what was originally there was he mind wipes Magneto, and that's the move that he does. Like the failure is that Wolverine is hurt, and the lashing out that he does against Magneto is a indication that he might become Onslaught someday. It's just,
Right.
it's just why would he do that? It's just so out of character. In reality, when they made Fatal Attractions, they had no fucking plan for that whatsoever.
Right. They were just
also-
like, yeah, that's what he would do. That
Yeah.
seems like a solution to the problem. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, he's a super
Magneto
powerful
took it so
telepath.
far.
plus-
He wipes his mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, plus, like, we don't know what to do with Magneto anymore.
Yeah.
And
I really need his mind to be wiped.
We need to just get him the hell out of here. Like, we killed Magneto after, like, the opening arc when Jim Lee sold the highest grossing comic book of all time with Chris Claremont. We kill him shortly thereafter, and then he comes back, and he Fatal Attractions us, and so then we mind wipe him because we can't just kill him again. That'd be really redundant.
Right.
Yeah, we've
So-
already killed him once.
Yeah, so now I'll mind wipe him, and then he'll leave, and then they'll clone him, and then keep Magneto, but release the clone, and then we'll think the clone is Magneto and call him Joseph. So forget that.
Hey, at least
Oh, but Joseph does show up at the end of this book.
at least Onslaught looks like Magneto, so you're just like, oh my god, it's Magneto again.
Yes, and people are like, ooh, is Magneto back? Is he scarier than ever and bigger and beefier? Like, yes, it's kind of a misdirect,
Yeah.
but it's just that Professor X is dressing like Magneto
Right.
if he drank the ooze from Ninja Turtles. Now, halfway through making Onslaught, which is just an event where Professor X is going to link up all the minds, but he's too arrogant to stop because what he's going to do is going to kill everybody. I mean,
Right.
that's
He's like,
it.
no, I'll stop.
No, I
Like,
got it.
It should kill everybody, but because I'm me, it won't.
Right. So
Well,
he's
pretty great.
that's his
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
They're gonna fight him to do that, and that's what happens for the rest of the fucking book. Is them just trying to stop him.
I don't understand, like, why doesn't he just do it? Like, what?
Well, okay, because
Like, yeah,
it's a
he's in New
multi-step
York,
plan.
he's got all the Sentinels.
Well, he's got the Sentinels, but like the Avengers and Spider-Man are fighting those Sentinels. Plus, he also needs to get Nate Gray, who from the Age of Apocalypse, of course, Mr. Sinister makes him. He fights in Age of Apocalypse, and then Age of Apocalypse ends. Reality's reset, but Nate Gray is just so fucking powerful, popular. He just falls out of the goddamn sky and arrives in the main universe.
Naked.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's still wearing clothes. Also, Holocaust too. But anyway, and
great.
and Dark Beast. So
Yeah, I
and,
saw Dark Beast there for a
yeah,
second.
Dark Beast from the Age of Apocalypse.
There's like a lot happening here. It's Boneclaw Wolverine.
Yep.
Which was hanging out with Elektra.
Yep. Well, because Boneclaw Wolverine gives up part of his humanity to
Doom is here.
Doom's there too.
Kang is here.
Kang's also there.
The Fantastic Force, which we freaking covered on GBU.
Oh, you're talking about the Fantastic Force? Yes.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I know those characters.
You son
We
of a bitch.
did a GBU book
Well,
on
it's a
those.
big universe-spanning event. We gotta get them all in there.
Freaking Sue
Malice.
Storm's got a crazy costume on.
Yeah.
Agatha Harkness is here.
Because that's a Fantastic Four comic. We're not going to stop doing. Because here's the thing. Okay. So remember how low morale is at Marvel. Most of these people,
Sure.
Fantastic Four, they know that they're going to be replaced at the end of this.
Right.
So they are not doing their best. They are writing their own irrelevancy. So you can imagine that they are doing either a shitty job, a half-assed job, or they're refusing to participate in Onslaught to
Right.
any degree, but it is technically happening and they have to technically get there. Plus, they also ingeniously made Franklin Richards part of Onslaught's plan, so Franklin has to be a factor in the Fantastic Four book.
Man, it's really too bad that he's not allowed to be on Krakoa right now.
I agree. It would make Onslaught's plan a lot more effective.
He could have been in Way of X.
Yes. Now, I don't understand why Nate Gray hasn't been pulled into the Krakoa situation. Yes, he
will.
died. He's Nate Gray. He can come back.
What is his
Anyone can
role
come back there.
In this.
Onslaught's plan? He keeps saying that Onslaught needs him, but for what?
Here's why.
Because they're like super telepaths?
Well, here's the thing. Nate Gray is really powerful. And when he first...
Really powerful how? Like it's over 9,000?
But, like, what does that mean, though?
He can do anything. Like,
It means he's an Omega level mutant.
Yes.
Yeah, but like, what does that mean?
He's something beyond that.
Oh.
Well,
He's like a Super Saiyan.
as a matter of fact, Onslaught is beyond Omega after he incorporates Nate Gray and Franklin Richards. Franklin Richards...
Incorporates?
Yeah, incorporates them. Yeah, he has to pull them into himself. Nate Gray fights Xavier before Onslaught. And when he does, it is that Xavier projects a astral projection of himself. Nate Gray pulls Xavier out of the astral plane and makes a physical manifestation of his astral form. So Nate Gray is so powerful he can make physical manifestations of astral
what's his
beings.
power?
It doesn't matter. His powers are telekinesis, telepathy, energy, whatever. It doesn't matter. He can make those things happen.
It looks like his power's getting his ass kicked.
Well, right now it is because he has to fight Onslaught because he teaches Xavier how to by pulling Xavier through the astral plane and making a physical manifestation of Xavier's psychic character or avatar.
Okay.
He teaches Xavier how to do it because Xavier's a powerful telepath, and so he gets that idea. So as a result, Xavier is able to manifest Onslaught. Right? He learns that trick from X-Man to make Onslaught a physical being,
But
and
he's
why he
his
can
own
walk.
manifestation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Does he lose consciousness or something?
Yeah.
he just turns Onslaught on, and then this thing shows up
Yes.
that's like really big and has
but
armor
now he
and
can
Yes.
be awake and Onslaught can be
Yes. Yes.
there. And also, this book is the reason why I can never beat Marvel vs. Capcom.
That's right.
Onslaught, because
Well, no, it's
that's-
actually because of the ingenious marketing that's going on because they're licensing literally everything.
Well, because this is it. Like, this is the thing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
hate.
He says, "Behold my mighty hand" at least twice in this book,
Well, he can.
which he says in the video game.
He can kick rocks, mate.
So he needs to incorporate Nate Gray because Nate Gray can do anything, and he is going to use Nate Gray's innate power along with his psychic connection to be able to also stabilize that omni-mind that he's going to make with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Franklin Richards has reality warping power, so he can make circumstances work to his favor.
Don't worry, everybody. Hawkeye's here. We're gonna be fine.
Hawkeye does pull a clutch maneuver in Marvel Universe Onslaught.
Does he?
Yes, Doctor Doom is going to siphon power from Onslaught while no one's looking, and Hawkeye shoots the power dampener.
He's like, I can't deal with that. I can take care of this.
But I can stop Doctor Doom from,
I guess.
from
taking some portion
Taking
of
advantage.
his power.
I could have shot him in the power dampener. I shot him in the eye. Right in there.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Oh, what the hell is this?
That's the Watcher.
I know it is.
The Watcher is actually at some point, around 2/3 of the way through, the Watcher starts showing up because the editors want you to be really excited about the fact that Onslaught is.
Oh,
it's
the
like,
Watcher's here.
some-
Something's happening.
Oh, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill
No,
event where
he's
Dr.
here
X
watching, and
goes crazy.
Did you see the Watcher in this
Professor
book?
X.
No, I don't think you did.
that's right.
So
this is way
this is
bigger.
even bigger.
It's bigger and
And
better.
better.
Oh, even better than that. You like that book? Watcher is going to talk to Apocalypse throughout this book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that the
Where's-
two of them chat about
Watcher is-
how it's going.
Why
Watcher
is
is-
Apocalypse there?
Because he's waiting for this to end. Because here's the thing. The Age of Apocalypse happens because of time travel.
Yeah.
But it's the absence of Xavier that ushers in the Age of Apocalypse. At the end of this, Xavier's going to go away, as will humanity's heroes. So it could usher in an Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, but we already read that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
We can't have a
But
circular
Apocalypse is
story.
still
No, but
hanging
it's-
out there
it's-
waiting to do it again.
Yes, he's like, it's a good plan. I don't see why. Just
Yeah,
because I
this
did it
time-
and I lost it, Apocalypse didn't know about the Age of Apocalypse. He just lived it because of an alternate reality. Now he knows about it and he wants to get it back.
Right.
Sans one-armed Wolverine and stuff. So anyway, halfway through doing Onslaught, making this book,
Right.
they realize that they don't want to character assassinate Xavier.
Oh, well, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, no, this amount of the book.
That already happened.
This amount of the book already did that.
No,
Yeah.
so here's what we're
No,
going
you
to
can't
do.
say no, that's
Now
not
we're going to
happening.
retcon it. So
No,
here's what we're
what?
going to do.
Oh,
We're going to
God.
retcon it so that it's not that Xavier is just a monster or that he just has enough.
No, he is.
What if wait, you know that great moment in Fatal Attractions that everybody likes? What if
There was no great moment in Fatal Attractions.
when he mind wipes Magneto? What if in a Wolverine book we show that after Magneto is mind wiped by Xavier, some part of Magneto imprints onto
fuck you.
Professor Xavier and is copied. You see, and what's worse? It's actually worse than that. It's worse than the Matrix reference. And the reason why it's worse is because we don't Matrix Professor X. We parallax him. That a psychic manifestation of Magneto's megalomania becomes a little impish creature that jumps out of Magneto and into Professor Xavier.
What?
Hold on.
Yeah, like, you remember when Hal Jordan just went nuts because Coast City got destroyed and he destroys the Green Lantern Corps?
Yeah.
And becomes Parallax, and then
Yeah.
Jeff Johns like, no,
No.
Hal Jordan's one of my favorite characters. You can't do that. So instead, it's that Parallax, the embodiment of fear, went into Hal Jordan and made him do those things.
Yeah.
Same fucking thing.
Wow.
Instead of some part of Magneto's consciousness imprinting onto Xavier, a physical, well, like a kind of psychic but literal manifestation of Magneto's megalomania, and they make sure to say it's that, literally
Like crawls in.
jumps out of his body like a little gremlin.
Like the old humors.
Yeah, hey, good reference.
I have to keep this because look at this like not foot. I can't
Oh.
I can't not see
I
that.
know, they're
Like
just- you know what
he's
they're doing?
top
They're-
there, and I'm like
That's a flipper.
Well, they're just getting ready for life. There it is.
that.
Jump.
That.
Oh my God, that's so
That's
crappy.
so stupid. That sucks.
It sucks.
I wondered why they were showing Fatal Attraction
So
in the middle of
much.
this book.
Because it's important. Because in the middle of Onslaught, they're like, "Oh, we got to change that."
The hell.
I know it totally
That's
sucks.
so crappy.
That's like and his design is as crappy as it should be.
Yes.
It's as crappy as an idea.
I don't know what I was
agree.
imagining when you described it, but that's like worse.
It's much worse.
My brain was imagining like a salacious crumb, and
Yeah.
it's worse than that.
It's
Worse than
than-
Salacious
yeah.
Crumb. So here's this great thing. So if you're confused, if you're like, what? Wait, so Xavier and Magneto, like, how does that make Onslaught? Don't worry, because they have an equation for you right here. Xavier's goals plus Magneto's methods equals Onslaught, an all-powerful omnipath determined to rule/save the world by any means necessary.
Well, that's just Magneto.
That's bad math.
That's just a stronger Magneto.
Yeah, that's why he looks just like Magneto.
What happened to the kind and gentle part of Xavier's?
Well,
Shut up.
it is Xavier though. That's the part.
No, but this is just
yeah,
Magneto.
yeah, but,
Yeah,
but,
it's
but
just
what
Magneto.
part of him is reflected in Onslaught's
I guess
agenda?
the Omni-Mind.
The
I guess the
Omni-Mind, yeah, the
Omni-Mind
fact that he's a
part,
telepath.
Yeah, the telepath.
Yeah,
the
the
power,
telepath.
the
Well, I
power
was gonna
part.
say
Yeah.
the concept that he's like, I'll bring everybody together.
Together.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'll force them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the Omni-Mind is
That's
where
what-
that comes from.
That's what Magneto wanted to do. He wanted to bring everyone together.
Yeah.
He wanted
Just
to kill
the
humanity.
mutants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the
yeah,
mutants.
yeah.
So
See, we have the same goal.
yeah, he tricks Franklin into being part of him by like.
So are you
being-
telling me that this isn't actually Xavier?
Well, here's the thing. It was Xavier. You know, some part of Magneto is on Xavier, but it's Xavier. He gets the
Yeah,
idea
it's like
to
a
make
corrupted
Onslaught
version of Xavier.
Exactly. But then Thor blasts through Onslaught and grabs Xavier physically and pulls him out of Onslaught.
Oh.
And they're like, we did it. But then Onslaught's like, finally, I'm free. I don't have Xavier's kindness or his patience. And so they're
Or
like,
his power?
no,
I
because
kept
Xavier learned from X-Man and still had X-Man and Franklin in there.
Wait, X-Man and Franklin are still inside?
Yes.
Like physically inside?
Yes.
Are they inside?
Why doesn't Thor pull them out?
Because they were like, we only have one shot at this to throw Thor at Onslaught.
Oh.
And we figure if we sever Xavier from Onslaught, that's it. Because
like the key
Onslaught is
part.
Xavier. And it's like,
Right.
no, because of X-Men, I made a physical astral character. And he's
So-
different. He's a different consciousness. So Xavier is literally disconnected from Onslaught. And Onslaught's like, that's what I wanted in the first place.
So wait a minute.
So he's a villain they can fight at the end.
Okay, hold on.
Sure.
Hold up.
Hold on. So Onslaught originally is just like kind of a big guy,
Yes.
and Xavier's inside that.
Yes.
Yeah.
well, because they keep siphoning off all the psychic like energy from everybody's fear, he gets bigger and bigger.
Okay, because I was like, how are 2 other people in there?
It's more like a state of mind, but they are physically in there. Maybe it's like the TARDIS, where like Onslaught's bigger on the inside.
They're like chakras.
Yeah,
like one's the
Yeah.
head and
Yeah.
one's the heart.
It's literally
one's the anus.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like they're just when you see them in there, it's like a room, you know. So
Yeah.
Well, I know he's got like a big sentinel body thing, right?
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Did you know that Jim Lee's going to draw Fantastic Four when this is done? Because that's going to be friggin' awesome. So why don't you just enjoy the ride?
How
about you get all the way off my back?
I'm gonna need you to get all the way off my back. Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to understand what the writer is trying to convey
Well,
in
the
any
problem
given
is that
panel.
it's written by like 6 different people, and
so they don't really know.
And like one of them at least knows that he's getting fired. Like, Mark Waid jumps on X-Men and tries to shepherd this fucking nonsense and is just like, well, but you got me fired off of the... Whatever.
But like Nate Gray's here.
Well, he doesn't get pulled in until later.
But there's
No,
not...
here he is. Yeah, he's right there. He's in Onslaught.
Yeah, he's
He's
inside.
in him,
Yes.
but he's yelling at him.
Yeah, Onslaught's projecting himself inside of himself so he can communicate with X-Man while he's doing stuff outside.
Oh my god, it's a projection of a physical manifestation of a projection?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, then the whole thing culminates in a big slap fight at the end where, like, you know, you've seen 1,000 different breakdowns of what that is, but, like, honestly, I kind of dig it, and the reason why I like the last... Because the rest of it's bullshit. Right? The rest of it's bullshit. And what's interesting...
Yeah, though they completely changed what it was.
Yeah, they
like
changed-
it was almost interesting
Right.
when it was Xavier and he actually did crack.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
like
yeah,
became a bad
Xavier
guy.
is a good story.
Well, it's
Yeah,
at least an idea.
Yeah.
So we are 10 blocks past bullshit at this point.
That's right.
Now it's just a monster. Now they're just punching a big monster.
You got it! Now they can fight a big monster.
Yeah, they would be, you know, conflicted if they had to fight
Xavier.
Yeah, there'd be like drama
That
there.
would be a good story.
Yeah, I would hesitate to even say it's good, but it
Yeah.
would at least be a story as opposed to a marketing excuse to make these characters drawn by people who literally quit your company and took a shit on your desk. Oh, and also pay them millions of dollars to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this is the only way that Marvel's going to survive.
yeah, is if we call the people that quit.
Is if we get them back,
yeah.
you know.
Except the bottom's already fallen out of the market. It's 96. No one gives a shit about Wildcats anymore.
Wait, when does Xavier get blasted out of Onslaught?
Much earlier, like around here.
Earlier?
Yeah, in that Thor book, probably.
Yeah, well, it's Thor has no shirt on. He has this terrible Marvel versus DC costume, and then I don't remember if it's shirt. I think it's shirtless Thor, and then terrible Marvel versus DC costume. So you got to go earlier than Gimp costume.
Oh, is this bear shirt Thor?
By the way,
Yes.
there's a great moment where
It's Batman.
because Professor X, Onslaught creates like a child version of Xavier to lure Franklin in to Onslaught in the first place because you know they're
Like a
hanging.
play date?
Yeah, like a playmate.
He's like, no, it's like
Wait,
candy.
is it right there?
And what's
Oh,
great
is
is
it right there?
they end up playing.
There it is.
Little Xavier and little Franklin Richards are playing a literal overpower card game,
Oh.
like that they own and sell.
Yeah.
Like there's a marketing
so funny.
in the book that's a marketing ploy. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, just
That's
shameless.
I can't believe there wasn't a number at the end of this. It'd be like, if you want this book to end one way, call this number.
Well, if your retailer is like interested in staying afloat this quarter, he'll sell you those cards along with the next chapter of Onslaught. So
Man, there's a lot of book after Thor rips Professor X out of there.
they gotta get more Benjamins out
It's
of you.
like, it's quite a bit.
So do they get Franklin Richards out? I mean, they must at some point.
They
get
have
him
to
out
do
of
that
there.
at the end. They have to defeat Onslaught. Eventually, they do. They get
So both Franklin Richards and
Nate get.
What is all
get
of
out.
this then?
You know, he's building the Sentinels.
Yeah, he's making
getting
Sentinels.
the Sentinels
They
into
gotta
position.
fight Sentinels, like,
the
there's-
Avengers are fighting the Sentinels.
Yeah, there's 3 Spider-Man tie-ins where he doesn't do
Sentinels.
anything, and they fight a Sentinel, and then Ben and Peter team up, and they're like, "Let's go to the Central Park fight," and then they don't go to the Central Park fight because if they did, they would have jumped into the bubble that would have sent them to the Heroes Reborn universe.
Oh yeah. So where's
Excuse me, what?
how does that happen?
Oh, at the end of the book, everyone gets together, and by the way, that's the only issue I like of this whole thing because it's written by Mark Waid, and it's his swan song. He's like saying goodbye to like the Marvel universe because for them,
And he's not saying, like, goodbye.
no, it's just like it's sad. Like everyone's fired. They filed for Chapter 11 before they made this book. Like, the future is uncertain.
Yeah.
You're going to bring in the Image guys whose stock has already considerably diminished. And the only people getting rich are people who don't give a shit about comic books. So, like, goodbye. Also, my book that I made that, like, is selling is canceled for no reason. So he's writing this book as, like, a farewell. So it's kind of cool to watch everybody in the Marvel Universe that can't sell a book fight Onslaught. And so they do, and they...
Because you think to yourself, maybe they're gonna die.
Yeah, and they do. I mean, like, for all intents and purposes, they do. So, you know, the X-Men and the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and everybody team up, and they go to fight Onslaught in Central Park, and they turn off Bruce Banner from Hulk, who was smart at this time.
Oh.
So Hulk goes savage. He cracks Onslaught's armor. Onslaught's like, this is in my final form, and becomes like thought itself. So Thor jumps in to absorb the energy that is Onslaught. And then it's not enough, so more and more heroes, all the ones that need to be drawn by Image people, have to jump into Onslaught to contain his essence, and that rips them apart, and they need to be destroyed by the X-Men, because if a mutant goes in, they will... The idea here is that, like, because Onslaught was birthed from mutants, if a mutant is in any way absorbed by Onslaught, it can give Onslaught another opportunity to live again. It's just a convenient plot device so that no mutant characters who are selling can jump into Onslaught.
Right.
That's just a great reason why you say, hey, prison system, just throw all the death row inmates right into Onslaught.
That's exactly what they're doing. So they throw themselves in, and then the X-Men have to, like, destroy the Avengers/energy bubble that they're in or whatever. So it looks like the Avengers and the X-Men are teaming up to fight Onslaught, and then the Avengers win, and then the X-Men just kill the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, which sets mutant relations back 100 years or whatever. Even though the next, like, books are not really that interesting and, like, don't really follow that along, but it does help Greg and Creed's approval rating. Also, you know, they're trying to, like, figure out what to do with Xavier after this, and so Onslaught, while he had Xavier in him, like, turns Xavier's powers off and makes Xavier think that he rewrote his DNA or whatever and made him a human, but then later another psychic shows Xavier that, like, no, he just flipped the off switch. So Xavier's like, oh, okay. So Xavier can get his powers back later.
Right.
But yeah, so
you just tricked him.
yes, he tricked himself.
He tricked
He
himself.
phantom limbed his own mind.
He's like, could you not turn them back on? I like going for a jog.
he did right. So
I'm in
that's
the best shape of my life.
So-
he is in pretty good shape.
So the Heroes Reborn universe, Onslaught's body is like a portal to it?
No, well,
Oh.
no. Franklin Richards basically converts that energy into another universe, so that
So he's
instead
like,
of them dying,
I don't want you to die. Let me send you away.
he's the Saint Elsewhere autistic boy, where he just goes like, I don't want you to go, so he puts them into a snow globe, which is just a blue ball that he plays around with. So, like,
Is it because his parents jumped in?
yes. Well, and because if you want to go down the rabbit hole, maybe Franklin Richards is in charge of the Marvel Universe, and that's why no one ages. Because everyone's the age that he remembers.
That he
them.
remembers them? Oh.
He's so powerful, he, like, keeps the Marvel Universe, like, in one state. That's how, like, time can pass, but doesn't for everybody that he cares about. And why,
So-
like, random, like, young characters can age and then become, like, the age they need to be superheroes, but, like, Spider-Man's still 25. Because Spider-Man's his favorite superhero.
Right.
So you're just Franklin Richards. Like, every reader is Franklin
Yeah,
Richards.
you're
Yes.
Franklin Richards.
Yeah.
You're Franklin Richards. You're Franklin Richards.
So, you know, so everybody
yes,
dies,
yes.
and then, like, they're like,
I
okay.
don't want to be Franklin Richards.
Well, you are.
Damn it.
So then Onslaught ends, and, you know, the sales are fine. The critical reception is terrible.
Yeah.
Like,
What?
Marvel...
Because it's insane.
How could that be?
It's great, actually.
Look at this. Look at this book. There's so much going
There's so
on.
I
many
know.
things that happen in
Look
it.
at all the pictures.
Look at there's pictures.
This is why
and colors.
This is why young people who read this are like, "What the fuck? Who gives a shit about Onslaught? He's stupid as hell." It's like,
Stupid big suit.
yeah, he sucks.
big robot.
Well, and it's boring and it doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at.
Well, there's action and
Just
there's
grah.
You're telling me it's Magneto, but it's actually Xavier.
And it's
but
like-
it's
just
actually
like,
not
rah.
Xavier.
Yeah, Marvel relied on Wizard to do a lot of their press for them. And
Behold,
What's great-
Captain America's tiny nose.
And zero lips.
and just all those
Those.
lines.
When you're that patriotic,
You don't need
don't
lips.
need lips.
Wizard pans the whole damn thing. They're like,
Really?
they're like,
No.
Onslaught is it's creatively bankrupt. It makes no sense. Captain America was selling well, and now you got Rob Liefeld drawing it. What the fuck is happening?
Well, it was like, dude!
Yeah.
Wizard,
What the hell did I
fuck?
pay you for?
I feel like I know exactly what it was. They're like, you have millions of dollars to throw at fucking Rob Liefeld, but not old Wizard? What the fuck? So, you
Rob
know.
Liefeld, he can't even drop feet.
So then Heroes Are Born actually happens before Onslaught even ends. They're like, woo! And then Onslaught ends, and it's like, oh! And you get all this shit.
Well, we still got Heroes Reborn.
Now, what happens to Heroes Reborn? The reason why Image Books were late is because these artists take a long time to draw it, and you hired these people who are chronically late to put out your monthly comic books, and so it took forever to come out, and so after the first issue, by the way, there was a little bit of a bump. The first issue is obviously sold, but that's the case with any #1 issue, which is why Marvel has like more than 12 #1 issues in a year, every year. Rob Liefeld, I don't know if he felt bad or if he was just not talented enough, but he asked Mark Waid to script his Captain America. Mark Waid, of course, fired off of Captain America. He's like, well, why don't you script my Captain America? Mark looks at this shit and he goes, no. Wade's like, fuck that. And he's much more diplomatic than we are about it, but like he's just like, no.
I'm not putting my name on that.
Yeah. Ironically, what's great about the legacy of Heroes Are Born and Captain America and Mark Waid and Ron Garney is that, like, sales double, Heroes Are Born, little bump, but tanks.
Yeah.
And they're out millions of dollars for their stupid contracts that never get fulfilled. At the end of it, when the heroes return, in the Heroes Return event, Mark Waid and Ron Garney take over for Captain America. Here's a really messed up thing that, like, whatever. Mark Gruenwald, who worked on the Captain America book forever, he was like 42. He gets an advanced copy of Captain America #1 and then died.
Oh my
It was that
god.
bad?
It killed him.
He had a heart attack. It's a kind of symbolic death because, like, everything that made Marvel special was falling apart and dying.
Yeah.
Incidentally, Mark Gruenwald loved comics so much that he asked for his ashes to be put into the printing of a comic book. And that comic book is this comic book, the first printing of Squadron Supreme, which he wrote and helped create. So this book actually has Mark Gruenwald physically inside of it.
That one right there that you're holding?
This one and ones like it, yeah, this is the first printing. So yeah, it is a forward by his wife who facilitated the process.
It's
I'm
just
assuming it went into
spread
the
throughout the
paper or-
paper?
Throughout the process, throughout the ink.
Yeah, they must be
Oh, the
saying
ink.
Tony Hawk's doing something like that.
Yes, his blood is going into like skateboards.
They're gonna mix it into the paint of some
Oh.
skateboards. He like donated a couple of pints.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
So Bishop comes from the future, and it sucks.
Wow, wow.
And he
Damn you, harmonica.
he's like, man,
Sorry.
like there's a traitor amongst the X-Men, and I'm gonna suss him out, and then I'm gonna kill him, and then it'll stop my crappy future from happening. And they adapted it into the X-Men animated series, which is, I think, better than what they did in the comics. But like whatever, because Gambit was the X-Traitor, and then it turned out Mystique was impersonating. That's in the cartoon. But
Yeah.
we never really find out who the X-Traitor is, and then they're like, we can answer the question of who the X-Traitor is. It was Professor X the whole time. Oh, we love that. So they were billing this whole thing as like, we're finally paying off the like 3-year plot line of who the X-Traitor was from Bishop's timeline. Because from Bishop's arrival to the road to Onslaught, Bishop is like, what? Like, he's from the future, but like, that's old hat. No one wants to hear that shit anymore.
Why didn't they just make it him? Like
That would've
Bishop always goes back in time. He always is the traitor,
Yeah.
but he doesn't know it till he gets
That's a
there.
way better idea than Onslaught.
Yeah.
But we can't have the Avengers jump into Bishop. So that's the X-Traitor.
True.
They also
I mean,
wanted,
they could. It's just going to be messy.
yeah, they also wanted to say that like the Morlock tunnels are actually like psychic, not like ley lines, but like tubes that help amplify psychic energy, which is why New York.
It's like the internet.
Yeah, it's a series
It's
of
a
tubes.
series of
I
tubes.
assumed it was like
Psychic tubes.
the horn of...
Gondor.
Yeah, no, the Helm's Deep.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
horn of Helm
Hammerhand.
Hammerhand.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, but they wanted to explain. Oh, the Morlock tunnels come from this whole psychic history and
I was
stuff.
pretty sure the Morlocks just lived underground in
Yeah.
whatever tunnels.
Yeah, that's
were
what you
there.
thought.
Right, but, like,
no,
because
actually,
they're
Or they
like-
tunneled
Yeah, but
their
who
own.
dug them though?
the Morlocks.
The Morlocks did.
No, they didn't. They inherited them.
Oh.
They're like, we just got these tunnels. I
So
don't
wait, though, who did dig them though?
know. Like cultists or psychic people or I don't know. They don't. But they're like, we're gonna like pay off a lot of these like plot lines to kind of justify even doing this in the first place.
Right. It's
They
all
don't.
Onslaught.
Yeah. it's
Oh, never
all-
mind.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, fuck it.
Oh well, I guess it can't be because we decided we want it to not actually be Professor X. We gotta get him out of there.
Right.
So I guess he wasn't the X Traitor.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, he made Onslaught, who became the X Traitor.
Oh.
Or
okay.
something.
Or.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So now, what could you explain? What is the X Traitor?
The X Traitor is just like there is someone within the X-Men who betrays them and causes the downfall of the X-Men themselves, and then befalls the new future that he comes from, his dark future.
So then, does Bishop play some critical role in defeating Onslaught,
No!
and that's why the future doesn't come to pass?
No!
Or it still does come
So
to
why
pass?
No,
does
for
he-
them, they're like, well, remember, for them, they don't give a shit about Bishop anymore, so his future's boring. But Age of Apocalypse, though.
He's here now. We don't have to worry about his future.
Yeah, so whatever. So
But he's worried about it.
Yeah, but not anymore.
And it doesn't happen because Onslaught's defeated.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't Onslaught cause Bishop's future this time? What changed?
Well, that there was no Onslaught in the first place.
No,
Him
but,
being
like-
here changed the timeline
No,
itself.
but like I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
What action did Onslaught
Oh.
take in Bishop's future?
Yeah, that he doesn't in this book, and
Literally
why
nothing,
is it different?
because Bishop, of course, admits that like there are no heroes. Like there's actually X-Man, I think, is like that. X-Man's like, wow, look at this. Like because in the Age of Apocalypse, like there's no Avengers, there's no Spider-Man, and
Yeah, because they all go over to Apocalypse's plan.
right. Well, some of them, most of them die.
Because they won't go over to his plan.
Yeah, but so yeah, no, Bishop. There's no explanation. It's just the Bishop is
Oh.
That
Bishop's
doesn't
boring,
make
and they
any
don't want to talk
That
about it.
doesn't make any sense.
They just
Well,
want to
did
pay
they
off the
decide
plot.
that?
They don't want to do
Oh,
anything.
I
with it.
guess maybe he wasn't the X Traitor. Maybe he was.
Oh, they don't even address it.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
that's over.
Is Bishop being like, oh, I'm not worried about finding the X-Traitor because he secretly knows it's himself?
No,
No, it's not
I
himself.
like that plan.
I did too. Bishop being the X Traitor is a way better idea than fucking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is Onslaught
hey.
still the X Traitor, or did they officially get rid of that idea?
Beast uses the word Google.
Oh.
Yeah, well, Google used to be a number before it was a fucking company that took
No.
over everything.
No, this is where Google was invented,
It's
in this
right
book,
here.
in that panel.
Yeah,
Here it is.
we gotcha. You know, Onslaught sucks. It's a boring story. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like this relic that is so big and totemic that people think it means something, but it really doesn't.
Right.
What it really is the real story of Onslaught is watch as Marvel eats itself alive and how like they made this thing to justify this horrible decision that then the guy got fired over.
Why did they make it so big, though? They didn't have to make it
Because
so big.
because
They already made up Age of Apocalypse that big.
Because Age of Apocalypse sold and because the Clone Saga still sold. Because even though they were like meandering, they were losing fans, they were still selling.
Well, and they also had to tell the end of the stories that were going to get rebooted.
Yes, they had to wrap up
So that's why you had to have them in
or culminate them into
Yeah,
Onslaught.
so they had to be part of it, but also all the X titles still had to be part of it.
Yes.
And we had to get the Avengers. Well, the Avengers were rebooted, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so that's multiple different books that just got to get just freaking just crammed in there.
Yes.
So is everybody just cool with Professor X at the end?
He does let himself get arrested and try to pay for his crimes, but like
And
not
what is the-
really.
what-
I mean,
What is happening?
What is he charged with?
Is he escaping?
right. Well, he's charged with like the
punching
murder of the
Juggernaut?
Avengers and stuff.
Oh, well, but he didn't do that.
But he did
They,
facilitate it.
they
Like, he
jumped
made it happen.
into
That's
Right.
them being a hero. That's them doing anything.
yeah, and he wasn't that thing that they jumped into.
Yeah,
He'd
but
already been
he
removed
still
from it.
created that thing.
Listen, the X.
Without him, that
no,
thing would not have
really,
existed.
Magneto created
Yeah,
that
well,
thing.
he.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
he mind wiped Magneto in the first place. He his.
Oh, was that the
his-
crime then?
His actions caused the deaths of the Avengers. What really happens is the X-Men are actually totally cool with Xavier because they're like, that wasn't you. And he's like, no, I feel responsible.
And they're like, hey,
Like, no, don't though.
relax, man.
Yeah, they're
It's
all totally
cool.
cool with it.
No,
Come
we're
back
cool.
and lead us.
Yeah.
None of us want to sit in your
Let's
chair.
go
No.
on like nothing happened.
No, they don't. Like no one leads the X-Men, but he does walk away.
Who the fuck's this guy?
That's Bastion. He will.
I see that.
Yeah, Bastion's a big new villain who will facilitate Operation Zero Tolerance.
Oh, so they're setting up the
which
next
dovetails
thing.
directly out of Onslaught because remember, we need to get rid of the books that aren't selling, but X-Men is selling. So we need to think about the next X-Men event,
Right.
and that's Operation Zero Tolerance, which actually does get more respectable. By the way, you can get like one of these yellow books of Onslaught, and it's much shorter because it only uses the X-Men books,
Right.
and only the X-Men books that have Onslaught do anything in them.
So it's really the main story.
Yes, that main story is still meandering and boring and trite, but at least it's more manageable But like, if you want to get the biggest picture of what Onslaught's all about,
Right, you
you
need
must
the
pick up the
omnibus.
omnibus,
Right.
which I don't recommend because it's fucking garbage. It helps to usher in a bold new era of poor sales and bankruptcy for Marvel, which results in the ousting of everyone who made Onslaught happen in the first place. And
That's fair.
But this does usher in, as you said, Perlmutter.
yeah, Perlmutter and Avi Arad, who
Arad.
are obsessed with making movies, and they sell off the film rights to your most popular characters, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. Then those guys and the people who were involved in Marvel, they end up facilitating the creation of Marvel films and Marvel Studios, and they bank hard on their like lowest selling characters being a success because of course they bet the farm on that. They bartered the rights to all their characters. So like if the MCU isn't successful, like the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
Let me
How are
rip.
your legs after this episode? Are they just asleep from this book just weighing on them?
I am like Charles Xavier now.
So
Someone get her a blanket and a hover chair.
Nobody,
Yeah.
don't push me, guys. I don't know what will happen if you do one more thing to me.
that's right. One more straw and it's
And you're gonna punch
Onslaughty.
Juggernaut in the
We
face.
ordered dinner, but we forgot to take the onions off your salad.
That's it.
We've been there and I feel like we're going there. I feel like we're seeing the industry being manipulated.
Is that why he's back?
I think that like Onslaught showing up because he didn't need to be in Way of X. Like it didn't need to be Onslaught.
No.
I think the decision to make it Onslaught, it isn't necessarily a conscious one. I think that like Onslaught was birthed into the Dawn of X era of Hickman's X-Men as like a cautionary reminder to be like, look back, go back and look at Onslaught. Look at where it came from and not
Right.
the story because there isn't one. Look at the additions, everything that made it happen, and
Right.
look at the
genesis
storm
of-
that birthed it, and
I'm telling it to you in a good story this time,
Yeah.
which hopefully
Yeah.
ties in and makes sense.
which is also a truer one.
but it's
Like,
still a cautionary tale.
I don't know if they even know what they're doing. I think that it's just like, no, the universe is reminding you, like, watch out.
Has Onslaught's ending occurred yet in the
No.
current run?
No, in fact, Way
so
of
we don't
X-
actually know necessarily.
We have no idea where this is gonna go yet. He's really just a thought. He's like a Langolier.
So the specter of Onslaught has been
He's like
raised.
he's living off of the moments that are lost in between a mutant's last backup and when they're come back, because like there may be some things that you do after your last backup to Cerebro,
Oh,
but they don't go with you,
okay.
and so he's living off of them.
He's consuming them.
Oh, interesting. He's like taking.
He's just
Like
he's,
Those
he's
few
just taking
moments.
things
Yes.
from us.
He's also like be able to slip into mutant minds and make them angry. But like it's not really a threat because Legion's there.
Yeah. No, he shouldn't be a threat, but the fact
maybe
that
he
he's
is.
there, I think he's like a...
He's a specter.
He
Yeah.
symbolically represents something.
yeah, I think he's like an avatar for
Yeah.
like for hubris in
Well,
the
don't
comic
forget
book industry.
who's writing it.
Yeah,
It's not Hickman writing that.
No?
It's Cy Spurrier.
right. He's a little of a deeper writer. Like
Yeah.
Okay.
So there might be something
There
else
might
there.
be something. Yeah.
he might be saying something about...
Yeah. Like this is a very specific choice.
yeah.
You know what I'm really surprised they didn't try to retcon at any point is that little evil thing that comes out of Magneto was from Mephisto.
If Mephisto did like corrupt Xavier, then that could be the reveal that like Onslaught is actually Mephisto, and he's feeding on those moments between death and life because like that's really, I should have your soul. All these people should be dead.
Yeah,
but
this is mine.
I'm not getting them back, so
Oh.
I'll be something that looks familiar to you because Mephisto can change form.
Right?
Okay, you heard it here first.
There we go.
Onslaught is Mephisto. Mephisto confirmed. Hashtag Mephisto.
Wow.
Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys next time with another episode of Back Issues. Of course, 400 episodes, two of which were this one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Feels like it feels like another day at the office, honestly. Like I'm thrilled that this has been part of my life. I hope you guys don't feel like you wasted too many hours on the couch, but I
Just this one.
right. That's fair.
Just the
Well
second
earned.
half of this one.
Yeah.
The first part, pretty interesting.
Wow.
When we actually started talking about Onslaught, I was like,
Oh,
The
it's
problem with
fucking
Onslaught
stupid.
is that it's pretty fucking dumb.
but he looks so great.
He looks
I
so
think it looks cool.
dope.
It
Yeah.
looks so cool. I bought a promotional poster for Onslaught and put it up in the studio. It's here, and I regret it immediately. I put it up and I looked at it. I'm like,
Damn it!
Oh, he doesn't look as cool 30 years later.
I
He
do
doesn't
that.
look as cool when
But
I
look
know
at him.
who he
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
come on.
It's that poster right there.
Look at all that shit on him. Look at that.
Look at all that shit.
Look at all that shit. Look at it all. And he's so big. Because of all the psychic energy, you see.
You see,
All the mental energy
it makes his armor big.
makes him physically large.